Okay, now let's discuss what happens when I'm reading and writing data from my main memory with respect to how the contents are transferred and of how the contents relate to this whole transaction of the MAR and the MDR. So let's look at both the read and write operations and see what the contents of the MAR or MDR mean at that particular moment. As mentioned before, the MAR and MDR are both special purpose registers. So their contents have a special meaning and they only have a special type of content. So MAR will only have addresses and MDR will only have data. The computer memory is made up of several partitions. Each partition consists of an address and its contents. The diagram here uses 8 bits for the address and 8 bits for the content. In real computer memory, the address and its contents are much larger than this. In fact, what we know now is that the address can be of up to 64 bits. So, and the contents of each address can also be larger than this. So just to show you how the works, this is a simple example. We're going to be using an 8-bit register for this. The address will uniquely identify every location in the memory and the contents will be the binary value stored in each location. Let us now consider two examples of MAR and MDR registers that can be used when carrying out read and write operations to and from memory. Let's look at the read operation first. First, consider the read operation. Suppose we want to read the contents of memory location. This is the memory location I want to read contents from. So obviously, if this is the address, this address will belong in the MAR. So as you can see here, MAR has the tetra 1, 0001, just like this. So as mentioned before, MAR holds the address of where I am about to read data or where I am about to write data. So since I'm doing read operation, where I'm about to read data from comes from the MAR. A read signal. Now, where does the read signal come from? This again is sent out by my control units because reading is an operation, it's an instruction. It is handled by control signals. So control unit will be sending out. So if a read operation is carried out, the control unit must have sent a read signal over the control bus. And since my memory, the same memory that we're talking about right now, is also connected to my, what you call it, control bus, it will reach the control signal as well. Similarly, if I have, now I have the next thing after I have data. I have data. In the contents and memory location, this are then put into the MDR. So since the read signal causes this memory location to be accessed, the data will be fetched from this location and whatever the contents of this location are will be brought into the MDR. So assuming that these are the contents of this location, this is the data that ends up in the MDR 0101101. So this is how the read operation takes place. First, I need to know where data is to be read from. So the MAR will have that data, that address from where. Secondly, how can I be sure it's actually a read operation that's carried out? Well, a read signal is being sent out. So obviously read operation is being carried out. A read signal is sent out. This read signal causes the contents of this memory location to be accessed and brought into the MDR. That's how the contents of this address location are brought into the MDR. Now let's look at the write operation. Suppose that we want to show how the value this is data by the way, was written into the memory location this, which is the address. So again, the relationship of MDR and MAR again similar. So now in this case, the process slightly changes. First, I have the data. That means the value this is first placed in the MDR. So 1001 0101. The data has been placed into the MDR. Now, since I want to, write something in an address, next thing I need is the address where that data is to be written. So again, going back at the definition of MAR, where data was just is about to be read from, or where data is about to be written to. So now I'm writing data somewhere in this location. So in that case, MAR will have that address where data is to be written. So in that case, the memory locations where I want to write data will be now placed in the MAR. How can I be sure that this data will actually be written? Well, obviously, a write signal will be passed on the control bus, sent from the control unit, eventually reaching the memory. Now, this is how this data will be written into this location and your write operation will be completed. Finally, input and output devices will be discussed in more details later in this chapter. However, their basic principle can be outlined as follows. Input-output devices convert external data into a form the computer can understand and process. So, sorry, I said output device as well. No, input devices. Only input devices convert external data in a form the computer can understand and then process. So whenever we want to define input device, we will not say something that sends data into the computer. It is, for example, a mouse or a keyboard. No, input device is defined by a device that sends data to the computer from an external source in computer understandable form. So all input devices, may it be a keyboard or a mouse, is basically taking inputs from the external environment, but it's presenting it to the computer in a computer understandable form, which is ones and zeros. So our input is then basically understood by the computer based on this. Then we got the output devices. We again, often we say output devices presents data, gives output, or for example, it's the printer and monitor, stuff like that. No. Output device, on the other hand, presents the data stored in a computer in a human understandable form. So now it's the reverse. Data is primarily stored in ones and zeros inside the computer, but when I want to present it in a human understandable form, may it be a printer or a monitor, those things present data in my understandable form. So that's why after some processing, it presents the data in human understandable form. So these are the two important definitions regarding input output devices. Very to the point definitions. Now let's look at the fetch decode execute cycle. A fetch decode execute cycle basically outlines how an instruction is to be fetched from my main memory, decoded. What that means is that basically an instruction is made sense of in a way and then eventually executed. Now we'll be looking at these three phases and then we'll then revise those three phases in this summarized fetch decode execute cycle in the form of flowchart. Okay, let's look at the fetch phase first. The fetch phase. The address in the program counter is transferred within the CPU to the MAR. So first step in the fetch phase that takes place, data from the PC, as we remember holds the address of the next instruction, is transferred from PC to the MAR. During the next clock cycle, two things can happen simultaneously. One is the instruction held by the address, MAR, is brought into the MDR. So that's the first thing that happens. MAR has the address of where data is to be read from, and that data is brought into the MDR. And the second task that can happen in this next call cycle is that my PC can be incremented so that it's pointing towards my next instruction before my next instruction even begins. So my PC is already ready for the next instruction. The current instruction that you're working right now, it's history for my PC. My PC has incremented +1 and it has moved on to the next instruction. So again, these two steps, the contents of the address pointed out by the MAR are loaded into the MDR and my PC is incremented by 1 can happen simultaneously. But if this confuses you, you can say that a PC can be incremented at any stage after this. So as soon as my address from PC has been shifted to the MAR, my PC can be incremented right away. But it has to be important that address has been copied from PC to MAR first. Then after that, the data stored in the MDR, which I just fetched from my memory based on the address from the MAR, the data from the MDR is transferred within the CPU to the CPU, within the CPU to the CIR, current instruction register. So basically, as you remember, the current instruction register holds the instruction which I'm about to execute now. So this is the fetch phase. I start off with the program counter, address is sent to the MAR, the address is accessed and data is brought into the MDR, PC is incremented, and the data from the MDR is then sent to the CIR. So far, my fetch phase is completed. Let's look at the decode phase. Instructions stored in the CIR is received as an input by the control unit. Control unit will send signals to the appropriate components so that the execution stage can begin. ARU will be activated if the instruction requires arithmetic and logic processing. So basically, right now, the instruction has reached my control unit, and my control unit will first of all convert that instruction, specifically the opcode, into its own processor instruction set. That is essentially the decode phase. That I want to make sense. Okay, I do know what to do because ones and zeros I understood what to know. But I can handle this instruction my way. You can handle your instruction that your way. So a processor family may choose to handle a particular instruction of addition in a certain way, whereas another processor family may want to handle the same addition instruction in another way. And that's okay. Each processor family works differently, but that does not mean they're not capable of doing some tasks. They can do it all. They all work the same way. They all do the same tasks, but they work differently. They have had different set of steps. They have different instruction sets to carry out those instructions. So the decode phase is basically making sense of how will this instruction be executed. And what it does is basically converts an instruction into its instruction set, micro instructions, if you will. And finally, the execute phase. The CPU passes the decoded instruction as a set of control signals to the appropriate components within the computer. This allows each instruction to be carried out in its logical sequence. So control is shifted to the control units, and for execution to become complete, the control unit is sending out control signals to all parts, all necessary parts of the computer to execute that instruction. Now let's look at this flow chart. As you know that this flow chart, this symbol means start, this means stop. This is a decision box. It's basically you're asking question, outcome of which will either be yes or no. These are processes. They emphasize something is happening. This is also a process. So I start here. Are there any instructions I want to execute? Yes. Program counter contains the address of the memory location of the next instruction, which is to be fetched. The address is copied to the PC to the memory address register, and this is done using the address bus. The contents of instructions in memory are contained in the MAR and then copied temporarily to the memory data register. Contents of the instruction of the MDR are then copied and placed to the current instruction register. And as we saw, that the fetch phase ends here. The value of PC is incremented by 1 so that it points to the next instruction, which has to be fetched. Now this step is carried out all the way over here. What I said before is that you can handle it right after this is done. So PC address has been copied from PC to MAR. I can increment the PC right then and there. I don't have to wait till the whole instruction is completed. Finally, the instruction is finally decoded and then executed by sending signals out by the control bus to various components of the computer system. Are there more instructions service? Yes, then continue process and all of these steps are carried on. If there are no more instructions, then we end the program. I'm done with executing all the instructions.